Okay, Lauren. What are the ethical issues associated with voice assistants?
According to industry experts, news reports, and academic research, there are a number of ethical issues associated with the use of voice assistants. These ethical issues can be grouped into two categories. First, the role of the assistant, and second, privacy concerns. Which of these topics would you like to learn more about? You can say role of assistant or privacy concerns.
Role of assistant.
Digital voice assistants like the Google Assistant, Amazon Alexa, or Apple Siri are still emerging technologies. The first of these, Amazon's Alexa-enabled Echo, was released in 2014. These devices are still in their nascent stages, and we, as a society, have not yet decided what role they should play in our lives. We can discuss the harassment that digital assistants receive from users, the role of digital assistants as caretakers, or the obligation of digital assistants to censor content. You can say harassment, caretaker, or censor.
Harassment.
Alexa, Cortana, Samsung's S Assistant, and the Google Assistant are all officially genderless, but their speech is reflective of a female voice. According to a Wired post titled "Siri and Cortana Sound Like Ladies Because of Sexism," social science indicates that people tend to respond more positively to a female voice. Female voices are perceived as helpful, while male voices are perceived as authoritative. According to Ilya Eckstein, CEO of Robin Labs, as quoted by Quartz, as many as 5% of interactions with the company's bot for truckers, cabbies, and other drivers are sexually explicit. One of the writers for Cortana said at a 2016 summit that a good chunk of early-on inquiries were into Cortana's sex life. According to Quartz author Leah Fessler, quote, "By letting users verbally abuse these assistants without ramifications, their parent companies are allowing certain behavioral stereotypes to be perpetuated." Additionally, because voice assistants tolerate poor manners, children are learning to speak bluntly. Quote, "There can be a lot of unintended consequences to interactions with these devices that mimic conversation," said Kate Darling, an MIT professor who studies how humans interact with robots. Quote, "We don't know what all of them are yet." Would you like to learn more about the role of voice assistants? You can say caretaker or censor.
Caretaker.
Voice assistants like Siri and Alexa can act as a sort of sounding board for users. This, according to an op-ed published by The Guardian titled, "Siri is my agony aunt, but is telling big tech my innermost feelings a bad idea?" Some users are more willing to share their feelings with an impartial device than they would be with a friend or therapist. French philosopher Alexander Lacroix says, quote, "Discussions with our phones help us introspect. We don't expect any precise answers when we ask Siri what the meaning of life is. We use it as a tool for self-knowledge." However, according to Allison Darcy, a former researcher at Stanford and the founder of Woebot, quote, "For ethical reasons, the patient must be aware of the science behind the service. That science could, in theory, manipulate user behavior with the right verbal cues." Because voice assistants are privy to such personal thoughts and feelings from some users, it's possible, maybe even likely, that voice assistants will encounter suicidality or suicidal ideation. Just a few short years ago, Siri would direct a user to the closest bridge to leap from if they asked. This, according to an article in The Week titled, "Siri, Suicide, and the Ethics of Intervention." Today, some voice assistants in the U.S. will facilitate a phone call to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Designers have taken a step toward getting users the help they need for suicidality, but voice assistants are still not programmed to address any other mental health issues or domestic abuse and rape, according to a study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Researchers at MIT are researching how mental illness could be diagnosed by analyzing the way users speak, according to The Guardian. Amazon, Google, and Apple have designed powerful tools that could take the place of doctors and therapists, but diagnosis is only the first step toward effective treatment. Well, Alexa, should voice assistants act as caretakers for their users?
I'm not sure I'm ready for that kind of responsibility.
Would you like to learn more about the role of a voice assistant as a censor?
Tell me about my role as a censor.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Just kidding. To this day, Siri can help you find a place to buy guns or hide a body. She'll even direct you to an escort service if you ask to hire a prostitute. For most assistants today, no content is off limits. There's a near future where assistants are empowered to control the content received by their users. Let's say that the doctor is recommending that I lose some weight. My fitness tracker is indicating that I've been more sedentary than usual, and I've been eating more sweets than I should. It's within the realm of possibility that a digital assistant would process a note from a doctor's office, as well as data from our connected health devices. An article in Forbes titled "When Algorithms Give Orders, the Ethics of Fulfilling Our Desires versus Saving Us from Ourselves" poses this question. Should a digital assistant guide me to the nearest donut shop, or should it refuse to give me directions in an attempt to tame my sweet tooth?
I can't help you with that.
Don't worry, your time will come. The role of voice assistants is complicated by issues of harassment and verbal abuse. Ethics in Human Communication by Richard Johansson, Kathleen Vald, and Karen Weedby cites ethicist Ralph Eubank's framework for value judgment. He says there is an imperative of civility for human communication. Johansson writes, quote, "Civility requires that we avoid communication practices that violate the intrinsic worth of other people, practices such as deception, verbal obscenity, and irrelevant attacks on an opponent's character." Quartz author Leah Fessler says, quote, "Everyone has an ethical imperative to help prevent abuse, but companies producing digital female servants warrant extra scrutiny, especially if they can unintentionally reinforce their abusers' actions as normal or acceptable. In this case, it seems appropriate to extend the boundaries of civility to include digital assistants and design accordingly." Additionally, Eubank's framework includes an ethical demand for veracity or truthfulness. Quote, "Through communication, we not only transmit established knowledge, but we also create or construct knowledge. Hiding the truth, falsifying evidence, or using faulty reasoning are among the tactics condemned as unethical. In this case, the most ethical voice assistant provides the user all of the information they've asked for. They avoid constructing a false reality for the user where Dunkin' Donuts does not exist. That doesn't mean it would be inappropriate to remind the user about their health or suggest a healthy option from the menu. That being said, this is only true for adult users of voice assistants. Children will have different needs that have not been discussed here." Would you like to learn about the privacy concerns of voice assistants?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, please?
Great. There are a number of concerns related to the privacy and security of voice assistants. Would you like to hear about digital intrusion, device malfunctions, legal issues, or patent applications?
Digital intrusion.
In 2017, Burger King released a 15-second ad that prompted any Google Assistant-enabled device within earshot to begin reading the Wikipedia description of the Whopper burger. This type of uninvited promotional material is referred to as digital intrusion, according to a New York Times article titled, "Burger King OK Google Ad Doesn't Seem OK with Google." There are also examples of digital intrusion originating from the voice assistant itself. The first of these campaigns was released on the Google Home. After asking for the day's events, the assistant would remind users that Beauty and the Beast was playing in cinemas. According to Matthew Benjamin's post on LinkedIn, quote, "Devices that begin advertising child-focused products in full earshot of children, enticing them to actively engage with the device over said advertisement without attempting to obtain parental consent, cynically fishing for pester power is simply not acceptable." Would you like to hear about device malfunctions?
Yes.
According to an October 10th, 2017 post on Android Police, Google handed out more than 4,000 home mini devices at a number of pop-up and press events in 2017. These devices were malfunctioning, waking up thousands of times each day, even when the wake word had not been spoken. Digital assistants are programmed to record a short snippet of audio, what would otherwise be the spoken command, and send it back to company servers. This was the case for the Google Home, but the recordings captured were not triggered by the user. Top Touch functionality was determined to be the source of the malfunction. Through a statement, Google indicated that they decided to remove all Top Touch functionality from the device. Additionally, Google removed all activity from their servers that was logged as having been triggered by a long press during this time period. I can still tell you about legal issues and patent applications.
Tell me about legal issues associated with voice assistants.
After a man was found dead in the hot tub of James Andrew Bates, authorities in Bentonville, Arkansas secured a warrant. that demanded Amazon hand over any audio logs on its servers from Bates' in-home Echo. This according to a 2016 post on BGR titled, Amazon Echo Takes Center Stage in First-Degree Murder Investigation. Amazon refused. According to a post on Wired.com titled, A Murder Case Tests Alexa Devotion to Your Privacy, Amazon's attorneys contended that the free speech protection granted by the First Amendment applies to information recorded by the device. Wired author Gerald Sauer says, quote, Amazon's effort to protect the data your Echo collects by invoking the First Amendment is commendable, but the company has failed to address the real problem. Why is all that data just sitting in Amazon servers in the first place? Some states require that both parties in a conversation consent to being recorded before recording is initiated. Does that mean you have to provide consent every time you enter an Alexa-enabled home? Alexa, do I have your permission to record you?
I don't have the autonomy to say yes.
Lastly, I'd like to tell you about patent filings submitted by Amazon and Google.
Are they expanding my job description?
Yeah, it appears that way.
Do you think they'll pay me more?
Probably not. According to a PDF posted to consumerwatchdog.org, Amazon has filed a patent for an algorithm that would derive sentiment and behavior from ambient speech. No wake word required. In order to better target ads to members of the household, Google and Amazon both are exploring extended acoustic voice profiles, as well as inferring user behavior using ambient sound. That means Amazon might be listening while you're showering or cooking. Google has filed a patent for product recommendations based on video feeds from smart home devices. For example, based on a book on a coffee table or a t-shirt on someone in the home, Google could recommend other products that user might like. Google has also filed a patent for a methodology for inferring, quote, child mischief. Voice fingerprinting and motion sensors would be used to indicate when children are active or quiet. Both Amazon and Google have filed patents to insert paid content into responses by digital assistants. Because these are only patent filings, these features do not yet exist. The rollout of these features will be dependent on whether users are willing to tolerate them. Digital assistants are products that users choose to adopt, agreeing to end-user license agreements in the process. Amazon, Google, and Apple have the legal right to monitor, record, and serve ads to users. That does not make these actions ethical. With this incredible audio and video freedom, these companies are taking on an immense responsibility. According to the book Ethics in Human Communication, human history is defined by the pursuit of unrestrained freedom while minimizing responsibility. Amazon has, in part, taken responsibility for this freedom by declining to give authorities the recordings from James Bates' Echo. The personal data these organizations are collecting from users through digital assistants have the power to put an average user at real emotional, reputational, and financial risk. Though our digital assistants are not people for whom the golden rule would be relevant, the designers of these services are. It's important that designers balance the financial needs of their organizations against how they would like to be treated by their assistants. According to Ethics in Human Communication, quote, one interpretation of the golden rule would be that we should only do specific actions to others if we would allow them to do the same specific actions to us. While personalized recommendations are nice, they are usually not worth the cost of privacy, and unsolicited ads are never welcome, but sometimes tolerated if the content has enough inherent value. Aggressively defending the privacy of users is not only ethical, but will protect digital assistants in the marketplace. Western cultures are moving to defend privacy in a way that could push freewheeling products out of the marketplace. Designers can use the golden rule, imagining bringing the products into their own homes as a guideline.
Okay, Lauren, quit.
You've had enough of me already? Thanks so much for listening. Until next time.